Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 106 of DM Discussions, podcast for players and DMs alike, where we cover a wide variety of topics to help you with your games. I'm your host, Ryan Reeder, and with me, as always, is the evil clone of Ben Bumhofer.
No, I just, well, evil is really kind of just skin deep, or no, actually it's deeper than that. It goes all the way to your soul.
Yeah. And unfortunately, or fortunately for many people, Ben can't do that.
It's really hard.
Really hard.
Like,
we were literally discussing his Dark Urge playthrough in Baldur's Gate 3 and how he was having the hardest time actually being evil in his evil playthrough.
Yeah, in fact, back when I was streaming Mass Effect like years ago, I had Twitter vote like, okay, should I do a Renegade or Paragon playthrough? Throw Renegade. I'm like, okay, cool. And that was just so hard to make some of those decisions. And by the third game, I was like, kind of just, lukewarm evil. It wasn't that bad. And I just, I had a hard time. And you're right. Baldur's Gate 3 is, gosh, my camp has very few people in it.
Well, if that didn't give you some sort of a hint, we're going to be talking several things tonight. But first, we are going to answer a listener question that was sent in to dndiscussions@gmail.com. Hint, hint, if you have your own. And the whole topic is going to be around running an evil campaign. And this is actually a super interesting topic because I think there are several ways you can approach this. And some of them may be more beneficial to playing well than others. So we're going to kind of talk through this a little bit. But first, Cameron writes in, I would love to see a segment on running an evil game. I'm working on preparing my third campaign set in my world, and I'm planning on doing a small evil game before we do that set in the same world. I have some ideas, but have trouble putting the pieces together. Any advice would be helpful. Okay, so a few things for evil campaigns. Session 0 is more important than ever.
Yes.
For an evil campaign, because you have to set the tone, because there is a very large scale of what evil actually is. Mm-hmm. We are vigilantes. We are actually on the wrong side of the law and involved in criminal organizations, or there's the full-on, we are chaotic evil and we just murder people just cuz. That last option is incredibly hard to run for any like lengthy time campaign, right? Mm-hmm. You could probably do a one shot or a few shot where you had characters that were kind of like that in a very specific scenario, but that will be hard to maintain long term, especially trying to keep the cohesiveness of the party together with personalities like that.
Yeah,
although you could very much do, and I've always thought this would be kind of interesting. You could very much do a Suicide Squad type of short campaign, which I've always thought would be very interesting to do, because then you could take characters like that and throw them in together, kind of leashed or tethered to an external purpose.
Yeah. And I mean, personally, I'm not the biggest fan of just murder hobos just going around killing everybody you see. Personally, that's not my kind of game. It's like, okay, well, you have this informant that's coming up. Let's kill him. Okay, well, that doesn't really drive any sort of plot or story. Or, okay, let's get the information. Now let's kill him. It's like, this isn't a video game where, this stuff doesn't really matter at all. Or there's, protected NPCs where, oh, you can't kill them or shoot them or do anything like that because, they're protected and you'll get the story from them and then just move forward and then just mow down the rest of the city that you see or whatever. I don't know. It's not interesting to me. I'm sure it is out there for someone. Great. Not a big deal for me. And that's where, my first big thing is like, as an evil character, you need to have some sort of motivation. Whether that is, I mean, if your motivation is just, watch the world burn and destroy everything, then again, that's not much of a story based game, a quest based game or anything. It's just, let's go around, cause as much chaos as we can. Like when I play Grand Theft Auto, I rarely play it for the story for very long. I just, go crazy and see what happens and stuff. Then I'm kind of done. So that's kind of what you're looking at with just straight up murder hobos. That's all you're kind of running around with. But if your characters have some sort of motivation that they're going for, like revenge would be like a really good thing. Like you ever see the movie Payback with Mel Gibson? He's total revenge mission. He's not a good guy. You don't want to do that. Um, Maybe someone was, disposed from the throne and they're fighting to get it back, but they're, an evil tyrant of some sort. They have their motivation. This is what they're going towards. Some people, want to summon their, death god because they worship them and everything. That doesn't mean they're going around killing everybody, but they have the ultimate goal of kind of ending the world. You can do something that grandiose, make sure that characters have some sort of strong motivation that is guiding them towards doing things that would actually like have them lean towards, these evil tendencies. And that gives it, the characters a lot more depth than just, murder, death, kill the whole time. It helps drive the story along, helps propel them into doing things that will actually enhance the world around them and change things so that they're actually making an impression on what's going on.
Yep. And again, that's the tone you want to set in your session 0. You need to make sure everybody is on the same page with what tone, how dark basically you're going. And especially for evil campaigns, make sure you do your safety rules because yes, those are very important because you potentially may encounter things or your characters may do things that characters would not normally do in a standard campaign or a hero type campaign. I have actually played in a longer term evil campaign. And I thought it was run by one of my buddies, and I thought it was actually run really well because we were all characters. Not that we definitely murdered people, but we weren't murder hobo-y. We actually worked for an evil / criminal organization. And I thought that was a really good way to do it because then that was able to drive the story based on kind of what we were wanting to do and then the goals of that organization. And if that campaign had continued, my assumption would have been that those goals would have evolved. The characters would have potentially progressed within the organization itself. There was an ultimate goal of the organization to basically get the person who is running it back into a position of power in this city. And so I thought it was very well done. It was evil, but allowed the party to be cohesive and have a group goal together that that didn't lend them PvP essentially, because you don't necessarily want to get into that aspect of it unless that's the very specific thing you're going for. So having some sort of cohesive glue to give a reason for the party to be together, I think for an evil campaign is extremely important. And then one of the things I like about evil campaigns, and to kind of shift your thinking, is your encounters change a lot too, because a lot of those monsters or NPC type people that you normally wouldn't fight or you normally wouldn't have combat with, you can actually do that now, which is very very interesting. So you can fight the good dragons, you can fight the guards, you can fight the paladins, or the good clerics, or you can fight those, you know, good aligned creatures that normally might be allies. So there's a ton of those throughout not only official books but third party books as well, that you normally only get to use the stat blocks for NPCs,
Hmm.
or just use the monster design as something to show, but not something that you will actually end up using the stat block for. So it's a really fun thing for the DM, because you get to use more tools that you probably don't get to use very often in a more standard campaign.
Exactly. And another thing too is that um y- as you're kind of, creating the world, creating things, you do need to make sure to, just like you would with a good campaign, um make sure that there's opportunities for the players to do their evil things. Whether that is, you know, maybe bribing or manipulating or corrupting, government officials to kind of get things their way, or, um, you know, uh, make sure that they're taking their thieves guild and infiltrating into a, the next town that they go in, or something along those lines. What if it's, that sort of evil that they're going, if they're again trying to bring about their death deity or whatever, you know give them places to, kind of start spreading cult like information around, give them ways to kind of grow their power that's not just the player. Because, and if you think about it, in a lot of worlds of D&D, like the bad guys, the evil and stuff, it's more than just one person just sitting in the dark somewhere just cackling to themselves. They've got minions, they have a power base of some sort, they have people working for them. Again, don't know why or how, but you get to help them figure out why and how that this is actually happening. Grow their power in ways that isn't just leveling up. And that's kind of how, you build an evil empire. It's how you're able to, raise their power level so that, they can just walk down the street, and if they don't like the jester who's, trying to entertain them or something, or the mime who's just busking on the side or whatever, and they take him out, you know, they could have some corrupt guards just kind of look at it and be like, oh no, that's cool. Like, maybe this is some sort of like mafia kind of thing. Maybe it's, someone who's grown into power, who is an actual king now because of the way that the story has gone. They're just a tyrant. They're doing what they want. I mean, give them every opportunity that they can to kind of play out that evil side of things.
I completely agree, and I think evil campaigns, especially, are ripe for political intrigue
Mm-hmm.
campaigns, just because of stuff like that. Because having the players bribing the guards to get in somewhere, or to assassinate somebody, or have that sort of thing happening, is incredibly interesting from the other side, right? Um, Evil campaigns, you can also are also good if you don't want to necessarily even start them off as low level people,
Mm-hmm.
right? Start them off at 5, start them off at 7, start off at 9, right? Uh, get get the power level up a little bit. Have them be bigger deals in whatever organization they're in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have them be running their own thing,
Yeah, give them some
or
some lackeys just right away. Give them, 2 or 3 lackeys.
yeah, have them fulfilling some sort of a contract for somebody. There's a whole lot of things you can do, but basically, so from a planning perspective, think about, what would I do what would I set up for my campaign's heroes, and then flip it on its head.
Mm-hmm.
If the heroes are going to save X person from getting kidnapped in the forest, on the other side, you kidnap the person and take them to the forest. Then maybe you have to fight people who are looking for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's it's really cool because all you have to do is figure out what would the heroes do, and then flip around to the opposite side of that, and that's the line your players on the evil campaign get to play through from the other side.
Yep, exactly. And having those, just kind of the flipped perspective and everything helps you kind of build out, figure what you're going to do. And then just like you would with heroes, like, especially if you're making like some sort of adventuring guild or something like this, you're just doing the exact opposite. You're making a nefarious guild. You can have, the evil league of evil be, your home base, just whatever you want to do. And then on top of that too, if you are, having them be in some sort of organization, think about all the fun random bad guys you get to make who actually get to live, who get to interact, who you get to play as and be nefarious as, and just, be, ooh, I hate that guy, but he's such a good bad guy and stuff. You don't have to worry about the big bad evil guy who is, going to die in, 2 rounds of combat because, your players are heroes who are going after and stopping him. You get to be part of that evil discussion as well, which is a lot of fun. And that means on top of that, you can play the most sanctimonious person as the good, or the
Yes,
big good
playing
guy or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like the person who looks
the-
down on evil, the person who is, so full of themselves that they're the best that there is, and their God blesses them with this holy power because they're an avenger of justice and stuff, just like
the BGG.
Yeah, exactly.
Big good guy.
Yeah, just totally flip that on its head too, because this gives you a chance to really, play your role in an entirely different way, which is going to be a lot of fun too.
Yeah, I agree. It's something I recommend everyone at least trying once, because like I said, there's that darkness slider that you can do to figure out, and you need to figure it out before you start where you land. But it does give a really fun, different perspective, and it can really energize players because they have to think about things in a completely different way than they normally would while playing a heroic campaign.
Exactly. And, again, if you're looking at alignments and stuff, you're not looking at just chaotic evil the entire time, because there are levels to it. Emperor Palpatine in Star Wars did everything legally and by the book. And he was one of the most evil characters in the entire, saga. There are ways to do things without, again, just going through and just, woohoo, I'm Yosemite Sam, shooting and killing everything I see, and you can play that way, but there are more interesting ways to do it that you can just kind of just, snake your way into things and just kind of have fun that way. I recommend that.
I agree. So anyways, if you've ever played in an evil campaign, let us know. We'd love to hear your stories, because those are definitely more rare than just the normal heroic campaigns. So it is a lot of fun. If you're looking to dive in but don't have someone to run one for you, check out Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, seriously, you can run a very legitimate evil campaign. There's actually a whole character origin called the Dark Urge that is basically primed for that sort of thing, and will make your gameplay playthrough like
it's
90%
so
different.
Yeah. And the best part is you can lean into it, or you can fight that urge too. It still gives you those options on how to play the character, which makes it that much more interesting.
Yeah. So it's a unique and can be very fun if done well way to play, for sure. We got an example. We did a little short +5 to hit that Jeff, one of our friends, and we're gonna actually have him on the show here pretty soon. He's currently DMing my Curse of Strahd game, and we're gonna bring him on to talk about Curse of Strahd and running modules and stuff like that, because he is
he's good at what he
been
does.
doing he's incredible. He's done an incredible job with that. But I think it was like a 4 or 5 shot, and these were definitely not murder hobos, but not good people.
Yeah.
Not good people. So we've got a 4 or 5 shot on +5 to hit that we did. That if you're interested in kind of seeing what one of those might be like, you could go listen to that. It's not super long, and it was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was lightly based off of one of the Candlekeep adventures, if I remember correctly. And yeah, we had a lot of fun.
And level 10, which was super fun.
Yeah.
We don't get to do that, those higher level things very often. So,
and if I remember correctly, your character, my character, we gelled really well because as a necromancer, you gave me my my pets.
That's right. I played the Illrigger, which was is MCDM's custom kind of Knight of Hell or Paladin of Hell type class. So it ended up being very thematic and very fun.
Yeah, it worked really well. And just overall, it was a good, fun time. And what an ending. That's all I can say.
Yeah. All right. So that is Evil Campaigns. We were going to jump into our second topic for the night, where we're going to do a monster fixer.
Yay!
And maybe this is something you could use in your evil campaigns or your good campaigns, because we asked our Discord what might be some fun ideas for our monster fixer segment, and bandits came up, just regular old bandits, and I was like, that is actually super good because we haven't covered those. And bandits are the most boring enemies.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I know, right? So, like, your basic bandit,
Yeah,
your basic bandit is a CR 1/8. He's got 11 hit points. Like, this is like your level 1, level 2 stuff, right? I mean, you've also got the bandit captain, who's actually a CR2, that's a tiny bit more interesting, so that you can throw in another, bandit thing when you're playing with your bandits. But overall, these are things that could be extremely common, especially in a low level game, as you're traveling on the road, as you're camping at night, or that you encounter trying to, attack NPCs, farming village, whatever. So let's take a little bit of time, Ben. Let's talk about how to spice up bandits a little bit.
Yeah.
So let's start with you. What do you think can make bandits more interesting?
So the first thing I think of for bandits is usually, you're traveling down the road and you come across bandits. You're out in the wilderness all alone. There's no support anywhere. And it's a common place for bandits just kind of hang out along the road, set up, ways to stop your carriage or horses or whatever you're doing. And first and foremost, if they have time to set up an area for an ambush, they're going to put traps around in some sort of way, whether it's, just something to incapacitate someone, the whole, wrap a rope around their foot and hang them from a tree kind of thing, versus, maybe some exploding traps, or if you have like arcane glyphs, if you turn one of them into some sort of caster, you can set up any sort of trap that you want in a given area, because this is where the bandits are setting up camp. This is what they're doing. This is how they make their money. And one of the things on top of that too is, based on that, you can start adding different abilities and stuff, like, that a fighter would have, that, starts controlling movement, like, pushing, pulling, maybe they have a low level druid with like grasping vine. You can pull them onto, one of those rope traps or something. Um, you know, Basically do what you can to kind of control combat, because this is their entire plan. They're just not going to go into it willy nilly. They're there, they're waiting, they are taking whoever's coming next, and they're going to be efficient and fast about it because they don't want a long fight either.
Yeah, I really like the idea of traps. I think that's very fitting into the bandit like thing. Um, Whether it be them setting it up beforehand or giving them it to them as an action
Mm-hmm.
or a bonus action they can do. Um, like a lasso type thing where they throw one out and then try and knock you prone, right?
Yeah.
Um, One other interesting thing about bandits, if you're playing bandits, just not even from a mechanical standpoint, but just from a mindset standpoint, and this this kind of goes for a lot of combat in general. There are not a lot of things that will fight to the death.
Mm-hmm.
There really aren't. I know we play a lot of times our combats just in a way where, all right, one side is going to win
Yeah.
and one side is just going to lose. And usually that side that loses, everyone is dead or destroyed. But for the most part, most things usually don't want to fight to the death. Most things will either A, surrender, or B, run away. So one of the great things you can do with bandits is you can end fights with a great chase scene,
Yeah.
because the remaining bandits, when they start losing a bunch of their dudes and there's only a few left, they'll likely try and run. This introduces a lot more dynamic movement onto the board, because let's be fair, 5e does not usually have the most dynamic of movements.
What?
And there's a lot that you can do to make that more interesting using we've talked about this in previous episodes, using the terrain, using spells or mechanics that force movement or have the ability to change movement, environmental effects that can affect movement, um, or a shifting, changing terrain of a battle map that will force your players to think about where their placement actually is, instead of just standing in front of something until it's dead, then moving to the next thing, then moving to the next thing, or someone shooting from the exact same spot for the entire fight, right? Um, so from a bandit standpoint, even their base kit comes with both a ranged and a melee attack. Use that. Don't make them all up in their face. They're people. Hide them. Like, have them sneak up and sneak around. Attack from range. Attack from cover. Those sorts of things that you can even just do with your base kit to make things more interesting. And then when the tides turn, they run. Make your characters have to chase them down. And if it goes off the battle map, turn it into a fun theater of the mind chase scene, right?
Yeah.
Where you can basically just start doing skill checks and then describing these cool things. The bandits, running and throwing rocks or branches or cutting limbs down with their scimitar that they have to try and block your catching up with them. And then if the bandit gets away, then you have a whole nother fun thing where that can come back again later. So there's a lot of different things you can do like that. They don't even require necessarily changing the mechanics of these very simple monsters, but more so how they are actually played.
Yeah. And on top of that too, again, they work together. This is what their entire thing is. So make sure that they're actually working together when you're doing, your combat. You have the wonderful opportunity here to know what each of them is capable of, know what each of them can do, be a battle master for, a couple turns, whether it's, they've been in the business long enough to know that, hey, that person's not wearing any sort of armor whatsoever, and they're kind of wiggling their fingers weird in these next 6 seconds. Let's everybody focus fire on them because they're probably going to be the really hard ones to beat. Have them take down a wizard first, or someone who might be a cleric, who's dressed up in all these religious symbols or something. They've done this a while. They know what they're going for. Make their moves have a lot of good synergy to it. Have someone, I don't know, maybe cast magical weapon on someone else's weapon as they're going into attack, or, have them cast bless, work them together as an actual group. If you really want to, give them a good challenge, make them like an adventuring party, have them have a tank and a couple different, good damage dealers, and maybe a healer just somewhere in the back as well. Give them a chance to either drink potions or maybe toss out a small healing word, once during the fight or something. Give them a little bit more of those low level abilities that, first, second, maybe even third level players have access to.
And one thing I really like to do with bandit encounters is I like to throw in a very seldom used stat block, called, and this is now technically a legacy thing, but it's a stat block from the Lost Mines of Phandelver called the Evil Mage. It's just a CR1. It's got 22 hit points, an armor class of 12, but it has a lot of really fun spells that you can use to spice up an encounter, especially a low level one like this type of bandit encounter. It's got, light mage hand, shocking grasp, charm person, magic missile, hold person, misty step. So there's a lot of really fun options just packed into this very simple stat block.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that it's it can make those bandit type encounters much more interesting if they have this apprentice wizard or this low level magic user with them, who maybe they try and protect because that person suddenly becomes a target when they're throwing magic missiles at your party that can hit them automatically, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's a stat block I love because it's very simple. It's but it gives a lot of options, and it can dramatically spice up an encounter just by the addition of it.
Yeah. Excuse me. And worst comes to worst, just give one of them a wand. Just, someone has a wand. They can just randomly pull out, do whatever. Just fun. I don't know. I just like wands, and I think they need to be in the game more.
Wands are fun. Wands are fun, especially just like the limited use wands that you can just kind of give away. I know we've talked about this before. Limited use items, some of the best items in D&D, because you can kind of shower your players a little more with those types of things and not have to worry about balance too much.
Exactly.
Because it's going to run out at some point.
Or give someone a wand of wonder, because you never know what'll happen with that.
Yeah, that's another super fun one.
Yeah, you can randomly make an elephant appear. Yay!
What is this elephant gonna do? I don't know.
It's gonna look really confused
now. So what else, Ben? What else mechanically do we have? So like the bandit captain has a reaction, which is really interesting because this is one of the OG monsters from the basic rules, and you don't see a whole lot of monsters with reactions and bonus actions, especially from the very early days of 5e. So this one's got parry, where he adds 2 to his AC against one melee attack that would hit it. So that's a cool reaction. Reactions are a lot of fun. You could easily give bandits reactions where if a bandit is attacked, then another bandit could use a reaction to move a certain amount of feet towards their friend to assist them. A bandit captain, especially, you could give a bonus action or a reaction to that where he calls out If a certain thing happens, like somebody gets attacked, or he's not in range to make an attack, he can use a reaction to command someone else to attack, or command someone else to move to a certain spot, or to grapple somebody, right? So there's a play up that boss element, right? Play up that I'm going to give orders, or I'm commanding. And then outside of the mechanicals, if the bandit captain dies, the regular bandits probably aren't going to stay around for a while.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
probably their clue to check out, essentially. So make sure you watch that while they're fighting. Have them talking to each other. Have them yelling stuff back and forth. Again, like Ben was saying, this is a group. They don't work as singles. They are a coordinated group that are working together to accomplish a task. And usually that task is, I want to rob you.
Yeah. When they're shouting orders to each other, whatever, just yell, um, Operation Sigma or something like that, which to them means something. You can just make it up on the spot. Who cares? But, speaking of reactions and bonus actions and stuff, give everybody a bonus action of disengage. I mean, to me, again, they're there to steal stuff and get out of there. That's what their whole goal is. So I would think that they'd be great at being able to kind of disengage and avoid just, that one swipe, and then just book it and get out of there on their turn. Especially, if you have maybe what their reaction could be, or one of their reactions, if the bandit captain dies, they use their reaction and just start, taking a good 10 feet away from the person that they're at, even maybe give them that opportunity attack, but it gets them, 10 feet further. And then you can, again, start into that chase sequence, give them that little push of like, oh, Cap's dead. Let's book it, get out of here. And, have some fun with that. I just, the idea of bandits being just the simplest of things is frustrating, because they are the simplest of things, especially when, as a level 1 character, you have so much more at your disposal than they do. So kind of start pulling different things that you can from, level 1 abilities, maybe level 2 abilities and stuff, and just see how it fits on a bandit. You never know, because obviously they're better than an average person, because they are either wearing armor or they've got abilities. They have, weapons training. So maybe they went a little bit further into, say, fighter, or they used to be the captain of the guards, so that, they really know how to handle themselves. This is where your bandit captain is, maybe decked out in something a little bit more than leather, because he used to be part of the city guard. And he decided, hey, you know what? The king is super corrupt because this is an evil campaign. So I'm going to go ahead and leave and start up my own company and rob from people. Who knows? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I always say, when in doubt, especially for these lower level fights, to make things more interesting, give your, like, especially the main boss or something, but even just the normal dudes, give them a battle master maneuver. Or give them 2 battle master maneuvers, right? There's a lot you can do, and those can make things way more interesting, or give the bad guys more tools at their disposal. And you don't have to think them through mechanically. You just go to the fighter page and steal it.
Yeah, exactly. Just right there. Very simple to do, very fun to add to it. And, on top of everything, the most important thing that you can do with bandits is give them a really scary name, and then foreshadow them in the town. And then they attack. And then they're not that bad, because they're just bandits.
But all bandit groups love scary names.
Yeah, exactly.
What are your ideas for bandits? We would love to hear what you might do to spice up a bandit as well. And like I said, this suggestion came from our Discord. If you have a suggestion or have a monster that you want fixed, please let us know. Yes. All right, Ben.
Yeah.
We have a few more little bits that we want to talk about. This is more like D&D news stuff. Um, First off, D&D Beyond dropped their first dev update in I don't know how long. Uh,
It's
they
been a little bit.
they yeah, it's been a hot minute. But they have some pretty cool updates to their new maps tool that we've been talking about. They continue to add new back content to that from older modules, the maps. They have a drawing tool now. They have improved the fog of war. Um, they can resize all the token resizing. They get the measurement tool in.
Yeah, they
They've
got
got
the pointer.
the pointer now. Yeah, they've got a way to see who is on it, like who's logged in to the map. They now have a DM uh, option that allows you to see the map from what the players are seeing instead of just seeing it from the DM perspective, which is super handy to have when you can see what the players are seeing. If you have a
Hmm.
bunch of fog of war and stuff to make sure all the right stuff is overlaid well. Um,
Yeah, and speaking of fog of
it's
war too, if a player moves a character into the fog of war, they don't have access to him anymore, which is a new thing. It's again, everything's in beta. So as all these improvements come and stack up and become, better and better, um, it's in a really good spot right now.
yeah, the I I would say if you use D&D Beyond exclusively to play, it is probably pretty dang close to Owlbear Rodeo levels of functionality
Hmm.
now, but with the D&D Beyond integration.
Yes.
So that's really nice. And it seems like this tool is they even said in the video, we are fully committed to this. So it's kind of interesting seeing as I know they've talked a whole lot about, their 3D virtual tabletop, and we don't know exactly what that's going to end up looking like or when that's going to come out or what kind of monetization is going to be around that. But a 2D tabletop with the built-in stuff of D&D Beyond, all the icons, campaign integration. They've talked about now more deep character integration and the rolling stuff that people can see. So I think especially for people that don't want to mess with something like Foundry or maybe even something like Roll20, this could provide and is currently able to provide a very decent alternative if you are playing online, and especially if you have your campaigns and character sheets and stuff within D&D Beyond.
Yeah, there's so much cool stuff in this now. In fact, once we start playing again, I am pretty sure that we're just going to use this going forward, just because it has all the different stuff that I need.
Yeah, it's great. You do, I believe, still need the DM level subscription to use it because it is still an alpha. But likely they will roll out some sort of functionality to it beyond subscribers at some point, because I know they did that with encounters as well,
Hmm.
which hopefully they will continue to improve encounters. Hopefully they will continue to enhance the character sheet. There's lots of different things that I'm hoping and looking for homebrew extra homebrew or more friendly homebrew functionality. So we'll see. I'm interested to see how D&D Beyond progresses throughout 2024, especially now with Demiplane also getting a 5e Nexus going, which is super cool. They've got character sheets with third-party stuff. But kind of speaking of that, they did mention in the video, and we'll have a link to this in the show notes on dndiscussions.com. They're currently prepping for all the 2024 rule books to make sure that those work well and are compatible with everything. And they did confirm that more third-party content is on the way. They did not mention what, but I think they have like 6 pieces of third-party content on there now. Humblewood being the latest one. We talked about that last
Hmm.
episode. So I'm very excited that they are continuing to be more open, and it sounds like continuing to foster more third-party partnerships to get that content into D&D Beyond to make it far more accessible.
Yes, completely agree. And I mean, just the fact that everything is just kind of, collapsing in on itself and stuff is great. Just the plain, map based, everything that they're doing is great. Um, and the thing is because they are putting so much work into that, I know that when they finally get into doing like their three-dimensional version of it and everything, it's going to have a lot of good hard work going in after it. And I'm excited for when that happens, but you know what, in the meantime, I'm going to have a ton of fun using just the basic map like I always have been, and having it just tied together with D&D Beyond.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. It's certainly something I would use now if I needed to do a session online.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Definitely.
They also today released, we usually record Wednesday nights. They also released today a brand new video called Vecna Eve of Ruin, Everything You Need to Know. We will also have a link to this in the show notes, but they basically talk a little bit more about what this brand new level 10 to 20 adventure is.
Yeah, it's really cool. And
It sounds super cool. I'm not
on
gonna
top
lie.
of it,
Like I actually kind of want to run this.
and what's even better is we were kind of right about some of these points. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
The fact that it does touch on a bunch of different multiverses to kind of give you a good taste and flavor of it. They talk about just basically how evil Vecna is and what's going down and what's happening. And then they hinted at, like popular Dungeons and Dragons characters that, some we know from fifth edition, but others from like previous editions and stuff, names you've heard of like Mordekainen and Tasha, just things like that are really cool. And these big characters are actually part of this going
You get to
into,
play.
yeah,
Yeah, as a
exactly.
DM, and they have stat blocks, which
Yes.
will be very interesting to see. Like I said, I think this is going to be our first real taste of what the 2024 revamp, especially monster design
Mm-hmm.
and such, looks like, because this has been developed in tandem with these 2024 revamps. And it's also one of their incredibly few, but this one is like a fully legit 10 to 20 adventure. Like you start off as a party, you have notoriety um, within one of the big cities, and you get called in to help with this Vecna problem. And then there's a really cool collection thing where you go around and you try to put together, I think, the 7 pieces of this rod.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all in these different planes you get to go to. You get to meet all these different big characters from D&D and interact with them. And it sounds like a ton of fun. Like I said, we'll link the video if you want to get the more in-depth info on it on dndiscussions.com. But it totally sounds like something that I would want to play.
Yeah, same here. I am really wanting to get in there and play this. And I mean, I'll DM it if I have to, but it seems like something that would be a really cool adventure, something really fun to play.
And I really hope that it's put together in such a way, and we won't know this probably more until it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
But I really hope it's put it together in such a way that it will really teach people, especially DMs, how to do high level.
Yes.
Like how to run high level, how to present it, how to run the encounters, how to run the RP, because the players have so many more tools in their toolbox, even at level 10, than at 3 or 5 or even 7, right? You start getting into these higher level, level 5, level 6 spells where they can do all this crazy stuff. So I'm really hopeful that they dedicated a good amount of time to teaching that tier 3, tier 4 running the game.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And we'll see how it goes. I'm really excited, looking forward to this.
Yeah, but so Vecna Eve of Ruin, they've got it up for pre-order now on D&D Beyond for both the digital and the physical. Comes out May 21st. So if you're interested in that, definitely check that out. We'll have that in the link. And
Yep.
then also, just from a community standpoint and non D&D news, Dagger Heart, which is the Darrington Press, the Critical Role RPG that they are currently making, has announced that they are going to have a public open beta playtest that is going to begin on March 12th. This is a playtest for their full RPG, longer form RPG system that's fantasy based, and I'm very interested to see what they've done with it. I'm interested to check it out. Hopefully, I'll be able to even run a game or play in a game through my friendly local game store once we can get that set up. And one of the other cool things is they're going to have demiplane integration
Yeah.
with the playtest right off the bat. So it looks like they'll have a character creator for demiplane, so you'll get that D&D Beyond-esque feel right off the bat, which I think was a super smart idea of theirs to collaborate and partner with Demiplane on that, because Demiplane has been doing a great job with kind of servicing every other tabletop RPG or every other really big one, because they've got Avatar, they got Vampire, they got Pathfinder, that then are allowing that D&D Beyond like experience, at least for the character tools are concerned, which is a huge accessibility thing and an incredible ease of use. So I'm very excited that they are partnering with them and will be able to use those tools right off the bat.
Yeah, exactly.
So March 12th, definitely check that out if that sounds like something that would be up your alley. All right, Ben, I think with that, we are basically done with the episode. I know we usually talk about what we're doing in our campaigns. Ben, I know you are
Still in
chomping
hiatus
at
at
the
the
bit
moment. Yeah.
to start back. I have a session coming up in 2 days, so on Friday. So I'm very excited for that to happen as our adventurers delve deeper into a secret passage in the sewers to try and find the source of where these kidnapped people are being dropped off. There should be a lot of fun stuff that goes along with that. Hopefully, a lot of information. Hopefully, they'll be okay as they delve in deeper. But I will have a full report on that next episode for sure once it happens.
Very cool. I'm looking forward to it. And looking at March is also incredibly full and busy on the weekends for me, but I'm going to hopefully try to squeeze it in sometime very soon.
Gotta squeeze it in.
I know
gotta squeeze it in.
It's there's a lot going on, and I've got to get this creativity out of me. So
you're gonna have to do like a recap.
Oh no, I've already
10 15 minute recap or something.
Yeah, no, I've already started, and it's gonna be basically from session 1. This is kind of the highlights of things that have happened that have gotten you here, that have built into our current story. So because montage. Yep. Things that they did in the very first session, which was supposed to be one shot, are having direct results right now, which is what I kind of, did a big exposition dump at the end of our last session, which was all the way back in, I think, September. So
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's health reasons, and then the world's getting busy just did not help with D&D, but we're getting back into it soon.
Very exciting. I am very much looking forward to hearing the results of your coming back session.
Oh, me too. It's going to be a lot of let's not do combat this time because no one remembers what to do. I
bet. Yeah, a lot of relearning.
Exactly.
Probably.
Exactly. But you know what? That's okay. Everybody
Okay.
is friends. We love each other. We're having a grand old time. So it's going to be great.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, that will do it then for episode 106. But before we leave, Ben, why don't you tell everybody where we can be reached?
Of course. The first place you can find us, of course, is going to be our email. So if you have any questions, comments, or want to share what you've done with bandits or evil campaigns, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. It's dndiscussions@gmail.com. That's where you can find us, as many people have and have asked questions and shared stories. And we love hearing from everybody. So please make sure you keep those emails coming. Other than that, we are found on Blue Sky, that fun little social media experience. The show itself is at DN Discussions. If you're looking for Ryan, you can find him. He is at TBK Zord, and I am at Ben Bumhofer. On top of that, if you like this episode, every single episode is available on dndiscussions.com, where you can find links to our Discord, as well as our socials on there too. So if for some reason you don't know how to spell my name, or you think that I'm lying when I say Ryan's, is TBK Zord, it's actually there. You can click on it and sign up that way. If you want to hear me playing some Dungeons and Dragons, though, check out +5 to hit. We are currently going through Rime of the Frost Maiden. We're having a lot of fun. There's a lot of backstory information dropped on the last episode, which was really cool and a lot of fun. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens after we finish Rime, because there's stuff in place that is going to be pretty cool. It's some neat homebrew stuff that Ro's putting together. So you can check that out. And of course, I think it was not last summer, but the one before, we had that evil campaign that Jeff ran. So you can always check that out as well. Aside from that, again, dndiscussions.com, find everything there. Listen to us on your podcast player of choice. And of course, as I say every week, Ryan, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I always have a lot of fun with that. Everybody, thank you very much for listening. We appreciate all of your support. If you want to help us and support just a little bit more, you know what? Give us a 5-star review, or, just click 5 stars or something like that, especially if you like us. If you don't, just, forget about it. You don't have to click 5 stars. It's okay. But with that being said, it's time to end the night. So everybody, roll well and be good to each other.
Take care, and we'll see you soon.